You're listening to Manx Radio, and I'm Judith Lay, welcoming you to the podcast of the Manx Sky at Night with Howard Parkin.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Welcome to this month's edition of the Manx Sky at Night with astronomer Howard Parkin. Unfortunately, Howard is away lecturing right now, so we recorded this programme before he left a couple of weeks ago. But as Howard always reminds me, he can accurately predict what we will see in our Manx skies in the coming weeks. So let's get set to listen and learn. Howard, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you again, Judith.
Now, let's start off with a bit of graduation news, because there was, a few weeks ago, there was a graduation ceremony. Let's hear it for your students, shall we?
Absolutely. Well, it was the end of my night school classes that I've been running at the college now. 42 years on the bounce, would you believe? You wouldn't believe it. I've only been married 50 years and I've done 42 years at the University College. But, you know, we had the finish of our 16 weeks, and I just suggested we went out for a meal. So we went to the Majestic Chinese on the prom, and they all turned up, and I thought it'd just be a bit of fun. So I thought, what can I do as a bit of a fun and turn it into a graduation? So I printed off a certificate for them all, presented them all with a certificate, an attendance certificate, and said how many weeks they'd be in attendance, and I gave them all a prize, a Mars bar.
The old ones are the good ones, aren't they?
Absolutely. It was going to be Milky Way, but I got Mars bars.
They're much more sustaining. But the nice thing is, I mean, it is a great achievement to have kept the classes going for 42 years, but it does show the level of interest. Would you say, Howard, that you get people from a vast variety of backgrounds?
If ever there was a socio-economic group that's totally diverse and different, you wouldn't get them. Men, women, people of all ethnic backgrounds and everything else. And we've said this before with astronomy, it really is one of these subjects that cuts right across the social divide. And it's great to see, and I'm just delighted it's kept going all these years. And this year I actually had full class. I had to turn a couple of people down. So, and a lot of the ones who come one year want to come back the following year, because although yes, I do a straight lecture on a subject like the Hubble Space Telescope on Mars or whatever, I do the first half is always what's going on in the world of space and astronomy, like we do on the radio show. And there's always something new to talk about. And I struggle to keep up myself sometimes.
Is it to some extent, as well as teaching, a kind of a discussion group?
Yes, it is really. Although it's always noticeable. The first few weeks, no one says a word to anybody. But of course, by the time we get to the end of the class, they're asking questions and they're discussing with each other, and someone will bring in a picture they took of something. And they're just a great bunch, and it was a great fun to do it. So while we were there, someone said, we should get a group photo. So we did a group photo and put it on Facebook. So if anyone wants to see it, it's on Facebook. And
it's there if anybody wants to see the Howard Parkin School of Astronomy Graduates 2026.
That's the one. We don't do T-shirts, unfortunately.
Oh, you will in time. OK, right, Howard, let's get our eyes turning skyward now. Still lots of lovely light night to enjoy, but
this year, more than ever, the light nights are actually an advantage for us. And I was thinking about this on my way here tonight, because when I learnt my astronomy, I lived in Liverpool, and Liverpool has always had lots of light pollution. No question. But because it was a light polluted sky, the only thing you can see in the sky are the stars that are very bright. And it's like that now. The sky is light polluted with the sunlight, if you like. So all we can see are the very bright objects. And of course, more so than any other time we've done these programmes, Judith, we have got the most spectacular planetary conjunction I think I've seen for many, many years. Do you remember Jupiter and Saturn at Christmas a few years ago? Well, this one is even brighter than that. This is the conjunction we've got of the planet Venus and the planet Jupiter, who, if you look in the sky at this moment, tonight, if you go outside, if it's clear, and you look at the sky, you'll see Venus is quite low down in the west, but upper left of it, you'll find the planet Jupiter, quite a bit fainter, but still brighter than any other star or object in the sky. And I think I mentioned this last month, they're closing in on each other. Quite dramatically, they're closing in. And from the 1st of June, which is tomorrow onwards, they're going to close in very, very rapidly until the 9th of June, when they're going to pass each other. And when they pass each other, they're only going to be 1 moon width apart. It really will be quite spectacular. And everyone's going to be saying, what's those 2 bright stars in the sky? Well, you've heard it first on Manx Radio. The brightest one is Venus. The not so bright one is Jupiter. And what will happen after the 9th of June? This will take a few days. They will close in on each other over a period of days. I'm doing it with my hands. It doesn't work on radio, does it? It doesn't work quite the same. They will close in on each other, and then Jupiter will go in front, behind Venus, and then Jupiter will slowly set in the sky at sunset, whereas Venus is going to keep on rising higher and higher and higher. And when we get to the 15th of June, just to throw in the mix to make it more interesting, we'll have the moon next to Venus, we'll have Jupiter halfway between Venus and the horizon, and just popping up above the horizon will be Mercury, which you'll need a pair of binoculars to see. So we'll have Mercury, Jupiter and Venus all in a line in the western sky in the middle of June. The Earth spins on its axis as we go around the sun. Now, if the Earth was stationary and just spun on its axis, the sky would be exactly the same every night. It would never change. But because we're going round the sun, the sky changes by 4 minutes a day. And if you want, you can time it. Don't use a planet, because planets move on their own, but find a star, any star in the sky, and get 2 clear nights, one after the other, and line up that star on a tree, a chimney pot, a horizon or whatever, and the following night it'll be there 4 minutes earlier. And if you multiply 4 minutes by 365, you get 360 degrees, which is the full circle of the Earth going around the sun. It's as simple as that. I say simple, but that's how it works. The stars, so Jupiter, which moves a lot slower than Venus because it's much, much further away, Jupiter is lined up with the stars of the constellation Gemini at the moment, and Gemini and Orion and all the winter stars we spoke of some months ago are slowly setting in the west, 4 minutes earlier each day. And that's why Jupiter is with them, setting 4 minutes earlier. But Venus, much closer to us, is whipping round the sun in, just 200 odd days a year instead of our year of 365. Venus will rapidly approach Jupiter. It's Venus approaching Jupiter, not the other way around, really. And then Venus will overtake Jupiter in the sky, if you like, rise higher and higher and higher until it gets to October. Then Venus will disappear down the back of the sun, passing between the Earth and the sun, because Venus is between the Earth and the sun, and reappear in the morning sky over Christmas for us. This is what the ancients couldn't understand. They couldn't understand how this worked because they thought the Earth was stationary. And they thought the Earth was stationary in the middle of the solar system, in the middle of the universe. And it wasn't until we moved the Earth to being a planet going around the sun that it worked out why the planets are doing what they do, why they wander, which is the Greek word for planets, is wander. The planets wander, and we can predict with high level of precision now exactly where they'll be and when. And that's how astrology and astronomy parted company. When the astrologers used to be predicting where the planets were and what it meant and all the rest, the astronomers came along and worked out why it all was. And that's why you have this fundamental difference now. And we do understand where the planets are, and we get conjunctions and all this sort of stuff which we see in the sky.
We know an awful lot, but as we so often reflect, what is there that we don't know? Each big discovery always brings some questions, doesn't it?
It does. Well, we're going to cover this after our break about the discoveries recently from the Hubble Space Telescope and the James Webb Telescope. They are discovering things almost on a daily basis. Some of them, yes, it's tick the box, we understand that, but others, there's one now about they've discovered a galaxy with no stars in it. It's a massive dark matter and gas, and we're saying this is basically a new type of galaxy discovered a few weeks ago with the James Webb Telescope.
It is mind-boggling, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because what does that open up?
Exactly.
We're exploring the dark side of the moon and all of that, but there's so much.
Far side, please, not dark side.
Oh dear, have we got?
That's almost as bad as astrology, that one.
Is it?
Almost as bad, not quite. Dark side of the moon. There's no dark side of the moon, really. As a matter of fact, it's all dark. Name the song, listeners.
He's at it again. Let's stay with our Manx skies for these coming weeks. What else is there, Howard?
Well, as well as the western sky, and as I said earlier about the light sky, you can only see the bright stars. Last night I went outside about 11 o'clock and the sky was spectacularly clear. And I actually was doing what I'm saying to listeners to do now. The fact that the sky isn't particularly dark, and it'll be even lighter in the month of June, you can only see the bright stars. So the first thing I want everyone to do is look overhead. Look directly overhead. I'm using my hands again, Judith. Look directly overhead and you'll see the plough. You'll see the plough, which is not sitting on the horizon like it does in autumn. It's late spring now. It's directly overhead. Follow the handle of the plough down. You'll come to a bright star called Arcturus. Then follow that line down. You come to a star close to the horizon on the south, southwest, southeast, the star Spica. And then come along from that towards the west, towards Jupiter, you'll find another bright star, the star Regulus in Leo. Now, you can't see all the stars of Leo or Virgo or Boötes, the herdsman, which Arcturus is in. You can only identify the very bright ones. Now what I want you to do is to turn and look due east, and you'll see very, very distinctive 3 very bright stars. One of them is the star Deneb in Cygnus, one is the star Vega in Lyra, and the other is Alta in Aquila the Eagle. Those 3 make up what we call the summer triangle. We call it the summer triangle because it dominates our sky in the summer months, but it's dead easy to find because the sky is so light you can only see the bright stars. So although it's a disadvantage for, should I say, proper astronomy, to look for deep sky stuff or nebulas or clusters or whatever, for constellation identification, you've got the 3 bright stars of the summer triangle, you've got the star Spica and Arcturus and Regulus in Leo in the south, and then you've got Jupiter and Venus and friends dominating the sky in the west. It's all straightforward, and from the respect of the fact that it's summer, we don't get dark nights, there's so much to see and recognise and see for yourself.
It is all around the year. There is something to see and do and learn and explore. It's just slightly different.
This 4 minutes early makes all the difference. This is why we see the stars of the summer triangle and the stars of Virgo and Arcturus at this time of the year. You won't see them in 6 months' time. They'll be below the horizon, and we'll be looking at the stars of Andromeda and Perseus and Pisces and Taurus. They'll all be dominating the sky because of that 4-minute cycle as the Earth moves around the sun. We have, of course, got Midsummer's Day coming on the 21st of June, when it's the time the sun is above the horizon for the longest period, so we get longer hours of daylight compared to hours of darkness, and we don't get, as I mentioned last month, beyond what we call astronomical twilight, which is why the sky is so light. But that gives us the opportunity to look for noctilucent clouds, these wonderful silvery, grey, bluey, ethereal-looking clouds, which are very, very high up in the atmosphere, so high up that the sun, which is below the horizon from our altitude, is still up from where these clouds are, 20,000 feet, wherever the altitude is. I think it's more than that. I think it's more like 40,000. Anyway, those clouds are illuminated by the sunlight coming from below the horizon, and they really look spectacular. You've never seen them before. You would wonder what I'm looking at. I mean, last night I was looking for them, and I couldn't see any. But you see clouds in the sky, and they're not sunlit. You can see they're just grey or whatever. But then all of a sudden you get these electric blue. They are. They're fantastic to see. Always around an hour or so after sunset. So sun's setting at the moment about 9:30, nearly 10 o'clock. So around 11 o'clock, just look west. Or alternatively, if you're an early riser, look about 4 o'clock in the morning and you might see them before the sun comes up. Most spectacular, and this is the time of year to look for them as well. Now, just one other story. Of course, the sun is going through its solar cycle, and we think the solar peak was last year. There was, only a few weeks ago, a major alert for aurora. The sun emitted what we call a coronal mass ejection, and the Earth was right in the firing line for that, and there was lots of aurora seen from the island and further seas. Very real possibility we get another burst of that, and even in light nights when it's not dark enough really, if the aurora is as good as it could be, it's worth looking out for. So again, keep your eyes peeled on the northwestern horizon. You might see some of the northern lights from the Isle of Man.
Anyone who ever held you would tell you the way I'm feeling. Anyone who ever wanted you try to tell you what I feel inside. The only thing I ever wanted was the feeling that you ain't faking. The only one tried to hurt you. He's explaining the way I'm feeling for all the jealousy I caused you. The snake's the reason why I'm trying to hide. As for all the things you taught me, it sends my future into clearer dimensions. You'll never know how much you hurt me. Stay a minute, can't you see that I wanna fall from the stars straight into your arms? I feel ya, I hope you comprehend. Too many hearts are broken. A lover's promise never came with a maybe. So many words are left unspoken. The silent voices are driving me crazy. After all the pain you caused me, making up could never be your intention. You'll never know how much you hurt me. Stay, can't you see that I wanna fall from the stars straight into your arms? I feel ya, I hope you comprehend. I wanna fall from the stars straight into your arms. I feel ya, I hope you comprehend.
Simply Red and Stars, our music break in this month's edition of the Manx Sky at Night with Howard Parkin. This is the part of the programme where we concentrate on space news. But as I mentioned earlier, this is a recorded programme made a few weeks ago, before Howard left for another lecture tour. So we can't get his views on what would have most definitely been our top space story. You probably saw the video clips from last Thursday night when a Blue Origin New Glenn rocket spectacularly exploded during a ground test at Cape Canaveral in Florida. The massive rocket erupted into a giant fireball when the engines were ignited for a routine test. Thankfully, no one was injured, but the blast that tore through Space Launch Complex 36 has caused serious, extensive damage. Space Launch Complex 36 is the only facility in the world built to launch the New Glenn rocket. That means that until the launch pad is rebuilt and recertified, Blue Origin has no way to fly its largest rocket. There's now a big question mark over whether Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin can deliver on a string of commitments to NASA in its efforts to send astronauts to the surface of the moon and build a base there. The setback comes just days after NASA's administrator, Jared Isaacman, announced the first 3 missions of the agency's plans to build a lunar base, a project he billed as the start of a permanent presence at the moon's south pole. The first, Moonbase 1, is due to be flown on Blue Origin's robotic Blue Moon Mark 1 Endurance lander and is targeted for launch around autumn this year. It's intended to carry 2 NASA science payloads to the Shackleton connecting ridge and demonstrate the precision landing techniques needed to keep future crewed landings safe. But the lander was to ride to the moon on top of a New Glenn, the same type of rocket that's now destroyed, raising immediate doubts as to whether that timetable is now possible. There are many more implications to Thursday's explosion that I'm sure Howard will explain to us in the June edition of this programme. But for now, I think the response from Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX, says it all. On seeing footage of the blast, he simply said, "Most unfortunate. Rockets are hard." So let's go back now to Howard, and it's not only NASA who are being busy.
And in the meantime, the Chinese are doing all their sorts of tests. They've just launched 7 tons into orbit to their new space station. The Tiangong space station has just had a delivery of 7 tons of material. I thought 7 tons is an awful lot of material. And there's talk of the Chinese launching an unmanned mission to the moon in August this year. And that will be their precursor to them sending their manned spacecraft to the moon. So who's going to be the next person to walk on the moon? Who knows?
It cannot become a race between two or more countries. It has to be. It has to be technically correct. So, what else are we thinking about at the moment, Howard?
Well, the other thing is, of course, Starlink launched their Starship 12 was launched a few weeks ago. That was the one that they launched from their new launch pad. And this is a brand new version of Starship 3. And the version 3 of the rockets, the 12 launch of the Starship 4 vehicle. And that will lead now to the next one, which will hopefully go into orbit and come back. And they'll maybe land it and catch it again. They didn't catch this one because they weren't going to plan to do that. And things are just moving at such a pace. It's incredible.
I would guess that now is a time when they're talking to the astronauts who've just come back from Artemis 2. There must be a tremendous amount that they can tell, I would imagine, a lot of technical stuff about how everything performed and what was easy and what was perhaps not so easy. There must be a gold mine of technical information.
Well, the other thing, they've just released NASA a few weeks ago about, I think it was 22,000 photographs taken by them. And that's a just incredible number of photographs. They took photograph after photograph of everything. And I didn't realise this again till a news story a few days ago, that they actually had a lunar expert showing them what to look for on the far side of the moon, because they made a big play of the fact it's the first time the far side of the moon has been seen illuminated and the astronauts could see it. And they gave them full instructions on what to look at, whether to look for rills or for craters, embankments or whatever. And they were trained very intensely to not just look and say, wow, that's amazing, but to look for certain features that they could identify and work out why the moon is the way it is. Because there's a lot of discussion about the fact that the moon has all the seas facing us and none on the other side of the moon. That's to do with the gravity of the Earth and all the rest. We know what causes that. If you like, the volcanoes erupted on the near side of the moon and the plains were full of lava because gravitationally sucked, for want of a better word, onto the near side rather than the far side, because there's what we call the synchronous orbit of the moon. It gets very technical, but that's why, in a sentence, there's no seas on the far side of the moon, other than the Oriental Basin, which of course they took huge pictures of, and that's the first time we've seen that properly. And these astronauts now have described it in full geological detail to the scientists at NASA.
It does just reinforce again that all these people who have anything to do with space, and not just these astronauts that we're talking about now, they have to be experts in so many different disciplines.
They do, and the one I've come across myself is the first astronauts all those years ago were test pilots, totally 100% professional people. They didn't have the skills, should I say, to communicate with people. Nowadays, NASA are very aware that their astronauts are very much their front of house. They're the guys who sell the program to the public. And every single one I've ever had the fortune to meet, they're so switched on PRs, such savvy people, intelligent. They know how to talk to an audience. They know how to talk to individuals. And this comes across, they're just lovely people.
So what else do we need to know? Anything else?
2 other stories I give us before we close, and those are the Voyager spacecraft. The Voyager spacecraft, launched in 1977, has had problems. This spacecraft is nearly 77 to now, it's nearly 50 years old, and they've had to switch off one of the instruments. They're struggling to keep pace with it. That spacecraft, I think I mentioned this before, is actually in November this year going to achieve a major, major milestone distance from the Earth. It will be 1 light day from the Earth. The speed of light travelling at 1 day, it will reach that distance in November. And they're hoping they can keep contact with it until then. It's got the power. If you open your fridge door and your light comes on in your fridge, that's how much power this spacecraft is generating from that huge, huge distance way out beyond our solar system. And they've had 3 instruments working on board the spacecraft. They've had to turn one off. The only ones working now are the radio to contact us to still communicate with Earth, and there's another gravity meter or something that's working. And slowly but surely, they're dying. But they were built 50 years ago, using technology of 50 years ago. There's two of them. There's Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. Voyager 1 is the one that passes that boundary. No, Voyager 2 passes the one light day boundary, and Voyager 1 is the one they've had to turn the instruments off. But they're mirroring each other to quite a degree. But what incredible achievement. I'd like to be the guy who tightened that little cover, and he tightened that screw for the last time before they launched it. And when you see pictures of these spacecraft from space, and you think, I did that. I put that insulation in there. And it's just like coming back from the moon and these sort of things. These things are literally out of this world and beyond our comprehension.
But I just think it's brilliant that with the technology that was, or the lack of technology that was available half a century ago, that equipment is still going, even if it's not functioning 100%, sending back 100%. It's a tremendous achievement, and those people ought to be remembered, hugely congratulated on being able to achieve that with so little.
I just hope that when it does get to November and we're still in contact, there'll be a huge celebration and party about it.
We'll be talking about it in November.
We will. My last story to give you is I got all excited the other day. There was a headline on the news for NASA website, Space Telescope Fix. And I thought, wow, they're going to go and service the Hubble Space Telescope again. And they're not. Although it is not out of the question that they may do so. There's another space telescope called SWIFT. And the SWIFT Space Telescope, because of the Earth's interaction with space and all the rest, and the atmosphere goes up and down because of the sun's influence and all the rest, this spacecraft is in danger of re-entering the Earth's atmosphere and will no longer be operative. So they're actually sending a spacecraft up to it to dock with it and boost it to a higher orbit. And that mission is meant to be taking place later this year. And as I say, when I first saw that, I thought, wow, this is Hubble. Because that's one of the problems with the Hubble. It's going to eventually, its orbit will decay and eventually it'll burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. I looked it up before I came today, and they've estimated that will be about 2035 if they don't do anything. At this stage, NASA have said they're not planning a rescue mission or a servicing mission for Hubble. But you watch this space, I think they will in fullness of time. They'll find a way to go up there and fix it. And ironically, one of the guys who's been suggested this was Jared Isaacman when he flew into space on the Axiom mission a few years ago. And now, of course, he's the head of NASA. So hopefully Jared Isaacman will get his guys to come together with a plan. And SpaceX have already said they'll do it for him. But it's just amazing that they've able to do this. And that links me nicely onto a story you've asked me about before, about all the space debris up there. You look up space debris on the internet nowadays, and there's so many plans about how to avoid it. They're making sure now they're going to make legislation that if you launch a satellite, it's got to have some form of ability to be deorbited without shattering into thousands of pieces. And there is collection devices being planned, and efforts are being made. And so, again, another one that we watch this space.
I think it is a big concern, and I'm very glad that now, sooner rather than later, there is some proper legislation. As ever, Howard, we've run out of time. Howard Parkin, thank you very much indeed for joining us for this edition of the Manx Sky at Night, shortly to be available also as a podcast. And Howard, we'll see you on the final Sunday in the month of June.
Thanks, Judith.
Station, Manx